What a turnaround in the weather here on many different fronts. We've got it all covered for you. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday morning. I'm meteorologist Jen Carfagno. Get ready for Friday, right? We're getting closer. We get through today and much of the country gets a break in the weather after storms tore through parts of the Midwest and Southeast in a two-day tornado outbreak. Check this out. Let me show you where it is right now. So here are the showers stretching from North Carolina to South Carolina down into Southeast Georgia. It's a much different story, though, this morning. You know, the front has not made complete progress, but it's a lot of its oomph and its energy. So we just have showers out there this morning. A few rumbles of thunder possible, like right down here across the Florida Panhandle right now. But for the most part here, it's just a couple of showers of the rain variety in Savannah and Charleston, and a no big deal kind of morning there. All right, so we watch the front and we track these showers lingering and then heading south into northern Florida. Orlando, Tampa, get ready today. There's a chance you'll see a couple of showers popping. It was an interesting day actually in South Florida yesterday. Very warm, very humid, leading to some sea breeze like thunderstorms, which is kind of crazy to see in early March, right? You might expect that in May, but no, we're going to see that front actually be the reason why we get some showers out there today. Jacksonville, next 12 hours, not looking at a lot in the way of rainfall. I mean, if you get rain, it's going to be few and far between. Most of the day is going to be just cloudy with temperatures in the 60s as we see that front go south. And temperatures in places like South Florida, including Miami and West Palm Beach, you won't be in the 80s anymore. We'll see temperatures actually in the mid to upper 70s. The rest of the area, look at this, we're in the 50s and low 60s, and that's actually just close to average. It's just a lot cooler than you've been lately. So big change weather-wise. 7 o'clock tonight. All right, so here's what's happening in the Northeast. The radar looks a whole lot different than yesterday. Yesterday, of course, we had the rain and thunderstorms. Today, we have some snow showers swinging around with our big trough dipping in through the north and east. This is all behind the front through the area. So it's possible we get a little snow from Syracuse to Williamsport. Not expecting much in New York or Hartford or Boston, but maybe in Western Mass, you get a few snowflakes out there. No significant accumulation. There could be just a little bit of snow and grassy surfaces. But the wind, and you sort of get that feeling too when you watch the radar, the wind is going to be the biggest calling card today as we watch what happens across the Northeast. Very strong, blustery winds all day long across the area. Now, they might be strongest in the morning, maybe in, say, Philly, New York City, up over 50 miles per hour. It's possible. But even in the afternoon, when it calms down, we're still looking at winds that could be gusting over 20 or even 30 miles per hour. So that's going to cause some air travel concerns. It also will mean this temperature of 48 degrees feels at least 10 degrees colder because of the wind chill factor. Here's where the wind advisories and high wind warnings are up. High wind warnings continue to about 10 o'clock this morning there, right across South Jersey and up into the tri-state, New York, Connecticut, and up long into Long Island. Right now, we're already gusting to 25, D.C., New York City. Look at Buffalo. We're gusting to 33 degrees. There's been so much wind energy with this whole system as we've been tracking it over the last 3 days. And so today, this is sort of the last vestiges of it, the rest of the wind. It could cause some damage in Mansfield Square. We've had a down tree on Interstate 295 southbound, south of Highway 206, the interchange right there, just north of the Philadelphia area. Be careful travel. We'll have more on travel, but right now, let's go coast to coast and check your Thursday morning weather headlines. Unbelievable, right? Let's take you out to the Midwest where skiing has not been a thing. Ice fishing has not been a thing. We just haven't had much of a winter, right? Our warmest winter on record for many spots here, at least a top 10 one. And Chicago, as we wrap things up for you, for wrapping up this week, we'll finally get a taste of a little bit of average. Not quite winter, but average. We could get a few snowflakes out here, Chicago. It's possible. We're actually below freezing, which is still above average for the morning of March the 2nd. Minneapolis, we're down to 19. Indianapolis, we are right at freezing at 32. We got this northwest flow out there. You know, we are going to watch a clipper dive on in as we track the weather for you today. Temperatures, though, are just a lot cooler than they've been, and we'll get some reinforcement in that thanks to this next clipper coming in. 22 degrees colder right now across Indiana, and even more than that across Ohio compared to where you started the day yesterday. A huge change out there. Now, Cleveland, today's high is going to only 36. In Chicago as well. We'll be in the low 40s around Indianapolis. The thing about this clipper is, and this is classic clipper behavior, it just doesn't have access to a lot of moisture. So it comes through Minnesota, Wisconsin, and in northern Illinois, and you will barely notice it other than the winds kick up a little bit and a few flurries come down. But it does bring in some reinforcing colder or average air. Now we'll see if we squeak out a couple more snow showers from it tonight as it gets into southern Ohio and perhaps in the Appalachians. You know, when you get some help from the mountains, that's where we could get about 1 to 3 inches of snow. Western PA and the highlands there as well. You might get an inch or so of snowfall. Plus the lakes are not frozen, so we may get a little bit of lake enhancement as well. Coming up first now that the big front has exited the Ohio Valley and the Northeast, what comes next? A blustery, windy day, a day that you were probably waiting for all of February that you never got. You're going to be getting it today across the Northeast. So then the winds do calm down. We have a clipper that moves in tomorrow. In typical clipper fashion, it's not going to bring much in the way of moisture to the Northeast. Shouldn't see a lot in the way of any snowfall. But it moves out and there's some cold air left in its wake. That's a high temperature in New York City of only 29 degrees. That's a bit of a shock to the system, right? And then to the west, we've been in a much needed break, actually, especially in California. But a return to a more active pattern here, getting rain all the way down to LA by the weekend. Now, it's about half past the hour. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for staying with me on AMHQ early. Busy day yesterday, right? I mean, we had severe weather and tornadoes, and they've been making headlines across parts of the country. Nearly 24 hours ago, we had a strong line of storms that devastated parts of the Ohio Valley today. And now it's very windy, too, behind where all that damage happened yesterday in the Ohio Valley and Northeast. We'll get to that. We want to talk about where the front still is and where the rain still is. You can see that there's showers out here stretching all the way down through South Carolina and southern Georgia, but there's not much left to it. So all of the energy, all of the oomph to this system is gone. It's farther north. We just have a little bit of rain left with the forcing from the front. A couple of thunderstorms out there right off the coast of South Carolina this morning. A little rain out there south of Valdosta, right through Waycross, and heading up into Savannah. You've got a rainy start to your day there, and into Charleston as you get ready for your wine and food festival kicking off. All right, so we've got the front that will track. It does sag south into northern Florida today. It'll bring a couple of showers to Jacksonville, maybe Tampa, Orlando, but look how few and far between these are going to be. This is not a big stormy day for you ahead across the Sunshine State. It's really just a couple of showers, the occasional thunderstorm possible. For Charleston, it's really just this morning rain that we're getting right now. Showers out there. And then temperatures about 20 plus or even 30 plus degrees cooler than you were yesterday. That's going to be the big shock to the system, is the cooler air. In fact, that's the case everywhere in the Southeast. Temperatures for you today: Nashville 53 degrees at 5 o'clock, 59 Wilmington, 61 in Jackson. Again, we've lost about 20 degrees in your highs today compared to where you were yesterday all across the south and east. Even Miami, we're not going to make it to the 80s today, and I know that's been your story every single day this week. Much cooler out there thanks to that. You got 55 right now in New York City, but enjoy it. That's about to change as temperatures fall off throughout the day. Temperatures are at or below freezing all across northern New York, western New York, down into Pennsylvania as well. And you see these snow showers coming on in. They're not terribly heavy, but because it's so windy, the snow is just getting swirled around in the wind. It's almost like you're in a snow globe out there this morning all across, say, central New York, the Capital District. We got snow falling in Albany right now, and Pittsburgh, you had a little bit of light snow. It's wrapped up, but it's still very windy. The wind is going to cause travel hazards today. Expect delays at the airports. Expect concerns on the roadways. You know, the big rigs, if you don't have a full load in the back of your truck today, you think you're going to have a challenge with these very strong west winds coming in, especially in any of the north-south interstates and highways that we have going here. High wind warnings for the morning for a lot of you. Some extend up into the afternoon. The worst of the winds will be into the morning, but it continues actually to be windy right into this evening. We'll go coast to coast right now and get you caught up on your weather headlines. The National Weather Service, your forecast right through the Midwest, where temperatures have dropped off about 20 to 30 degrees compared to where you were yesterday at this time. It's 19 in Minneapolis, 35 in St. Louis, 32 in Indianapolis. And all I can say is, this is where we should be. It's actually still maybe a little warmer than it should be compared to your average lows. The winds are going to be gusty and blustery, knocking off about 10-15 degrees from those actual temperatures to the feels like. And here's a look at the temperature changes. It's 31 degrees colder in Cleveland compared to yesterday. But yesterday was the oddball Cleveland. The warmth, the humidity, and this very spring-like weather you had yesterday, that was more out of place than what you have going on today. We do have a clipper coming in. It's going to reinforce the cooler air, so temperatures getting back to average. Minneapolis 29 degrees for today. Chicago Chicago 36. Cleveland will be in the 30s too. We'll keep it in the low 50s in St. Louis for your high temperature for today. And with the Clipper, you'll get a little bit of snow, but it shouldn't really amount to much more than flurries and just sort of some mood snow out there for your March 2nd. Now, the spring thaw that we've had starting to take place in parts of the South and Mid-Atlantic, we're going to show you the science. All right, we want to take you into the weekend in view. The weekend inching closer. It's Thursday, and we do have to talk about a change in the pattern because we've been a little spoiled, I think. If you like the warm weather, that's been the case all of February. There was something like 47% of the country that had a top 10 warmest February on record, or warmest winter, I should say, on record. Either way, we're starting off March here closer to average. Friday's forecast will see temperatures in the 30s from the Midwest to the Northeast. We do warm up in the Southwest. Los Angeles will be pretty warm on your Friday, but by Saturday we start cooling back down as we see our next series of storm systems come into the west. The Wine and Food Festival into Charleston looks great this weekend. Atlanta, NASCAR is here this weekend. Sunday's forecast will be in the 60s and it should be dry. Now, what happens when you try to drive on a not-so-frozen lake? There was some of the lowest ice we've ever seen at this point in the season. So lakes are open for business. We'll give you that as we take a look at this cold air blowing over the Great Lakes. So this is not lake effect snow. This is actually some system snow coming in behind our big front that came off the coast yesterday. Cold air blowing in. It's just so blustery. It's like you're walking around in a snow globe out there today. A lot of the snow won't amount to much. However, it's falling. It's flying around in the strong winds, and you might get some accumulation. I think especially where we get some help from the mountains, like say from Johnstown and Altoona, and then down into western Maryland and West Virginia. You'll get some snow there. The other big story is just how windy it will be and so blustery all across the Northeast, knocking 10, 15, 20 degrees off your temperature to the feels like. So you'll feel winter even if you don't see it in the snowfall in the Northeast. So today what we're tracking for you in terms of snowmakers is a little clipper moving on in. It's a true clipper. It doesn't have a lot of access to moisture. It's not going to get it. It's going to move pretty fast, and we're not going to see a lot of snowfall accumulation out of it. So we track this through the Midwest today, and what do you get? A flurry. Chicago. Oh, we go 146 years, Chicago, where we went all of January and February with at least some snow on the ground, and then finally this year we had nothing. And so that was a new record, right? And you're not going to start off March with any snow on the ground. This is not going to amount to much. As the clipper moves through the Ohio Valley, northern Kentucky, we'll see some wintry mix, maybe tap a little more moisture and get just a light coating of snow. And again, when you get some help from the mountains, we will be looking at some snowfall accumulating there. That's when we might get 1 to 3 inches kind of snow for you across West Virginia. Now, as we watch that move off the coast, it keeps on going. So this is not going to be the kind of system that we worry about hanging out right off the coast and throwing back moisture in. It's not that kind of system. As we look ahead to what's to come snowfall-wise, it's not much. A little bit right here across northern lower Michigan. Again, getting some help from the unfrozen Lake Michigan and up off of Lake Superior, too, in the UP. A couple of inches up there. And then right across northwestern Pennsylvania, Erie, we might get an inch or two of snowfall. All of us running below average when it comes to snow in the Midwest. Minneapolis, Chicago, Indianapolis, St. Louis, all more than a foot below average. And St. Louis and through Kansas City, you guys are just setting records, too, for least snowiest February and winter. I mean, there's all, not necessarily winter, but there's all kinds of records being set here with the warmth and the lack of snow and cold. Now, Chicago, again, those snow showers possible this morning. Then we dry out this afternoon. It will be a cooler day than we had over the last several days here in Chicago.